Hello and welcome back to Raccoon Justice, where justice done the raccoon way is the only way to do justice. Thank you so much for joining me today. Remember to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel because I'm here every single day in one way or another. Today we're going to be talking about the one and only Ruby Franke. I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Frankie, could be Frank, but I'm sure she said it's Frankie, so we're going with Frankie. She is the one and only Ruby Franke from 8 Passengers fame. And we're starting a series here, I feel, with this channel Connections. You may have heard of it. Ruby and her friend Jodie love to talk about how they can give advice and things. They like to give advice, parenting advice. Imagine that, Ruby, the mother of the year, one of the worst YouTube mothers on YouTube, has decided to give parenting advice to other mothers. The very thought of it just blows my mind, that she's even got enough gumption to try and pull this off. But it does get a bit, does get a bit of good here and there, so please bear with me. This is going to be cracking stuff, quality content from Ruby. This one, she's talking about now you'll love this. Now please bear with me because this is just too funny. Privacy, child's right to privacy. That's right, coming from the woman who took away her child's bedroom door because he didn't deserve privacy, and just exploits the kids to the nth degree in life for money. And yeah, she's gonna give privacy advice. What is it? Right, it gets good, so let's get into this. Watch it, and I'll let you know my thoughts.
Hello, and welcome back to Moms of Truth with Jodie and Ruby. Today, I had a question come in, and this mother touches on a subject I have wanted to talk about for a very long time, and that is the topic of privacy and children.
Or rather, I know that I said this a second ago, but Ruby, please. In the same sentence, privacy and children by Ruby Franke. No. Just please give everybody a break, but no. Talk about anything you like, but this particular topic is just a no-go situation for you.
Do children have privacy? Is privacy a principle of truth? If so, how do I gauge the privacy of my child? How much do I give them? Is privacy something that I can give my child? These are all topics that come up in this question. And let me tell you, this mom who wrote this question is awake. My daughter and I are cleaning her room together, and I was helping her organize some of her belongings into boxes for our upcoming move. At one point, I came across a small black journal, buried, or in all caps, buried, obviously very concealed from my viewing. I had never seen this item before, and I was genuinely confused when I held it up and questioned my daughter. Almost immediately after seeing it, my daughter's face went pale. Okay, so I want you to hear how this mom takes notice of her daughter's reaction. This mom is really awake. She says her face went pale. She basically threw herself over my lap. So the daughter's pale, she's throwing herself, in an attempt to snatch the journal from my hand. So the daughter went into a flurry of control. This 14-year-old daughter lost all the blood in her face, went into fear. She threw herself across the room into her mom's lap, trying to snatch this journal.
I would say in this situation that there's probably a cause for concern, but also a reason in the daughter's eyes why they were worried about the mum finding the journal. Probably a very logical reason, and it could be as simple as she's shy, she's private, she doesn't want her private thoughts read by somebody else. It could be something very, very basic.
She obviously does not want the mother to have this journal. I withheld it from her as her behavior gave me a massive pause. Right there. That is so fantastic that you caught that so quickly. Your daughter flying into a flurry of fear did not cause you to go into fear. How many times do our children go into massive hysteria and we, the parents, go into it with them? Not this mom. This mom stood her ground and went, this is giving me pause here.
Right, I do want to talk about this from a child's perspective for just 1 second, because I know that this is all about the privacy rights of the child and whether or not the parents think that the child deserves privacy. But as a child myself, when I was a child rather, I was a very, very shy person, and I did keep varying things, journals, notebooks, pieces of writing, anything with writing in it, but I would not have wanted anybody to have read. But for no actual, bigger reason other than I don't want people to read my stuff. And if anybody had tried to, I would have gone into that same fear. So there's levels of fear, whether or not, it might not be anything serious, is what I'm saying. And you probably shouldn't just take somebody's journal.
This is off. So excellent job. My daughter was sweating, her eyes welled up with tears, and I could clearly tell this was a big deal for her. I began to get curious. Okay, so not only does the mom recognize something is off here, but then watch what the mom does with this. I got curious. I said things like, "You are not reacting respectfully."
The child's not reacting respectfully. What about the mother who's holding on to the journal, which isn't hers to have any part of? That's not being respectful, right?
So the mom is reflecting to the daughter what she just saw. So you'll hear Jody and I say often, you need to reflect truth to your child. Instead of the mom going into distortion, going, "What? What's in the journal? What's in the journal?" Or saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to upset you. I can see that you're upset and give the journal back." Both of those would have been in massive distortion. The mom stays very grounded and she reflects, "Hey, you're acting off here. You're acting funny."
Okay, I'm going to do something a little bit strange here. I'm going to partially agree with you, Ruby. Partially, not fully. You were quite right when you said that it would have been wrong for the mother to hastily look through the journal. That would have been wrong. It also would have been wrong to have just panicked and just given the journal back. I think the right thing to do is just to take a step back and just calm the situation down. So in that, I think you're correct. But what is not agreeable is the fact that the mother is saying that the daughter is acting funny, acting off, is not normal. But how the daughter is reacting is normal. That is the key. It is a normal person reaction, particularly if you are private about your things.
She says, "You're not acting respectfully. I want to discuss this. We can do so when you're willing to behave in truth." So now the mom has reflected truth, and now she's setting a boundary. She's saying, "I'll talk about this with you when you're in truth. You're hysterical right now. I'm not going to discuss this with you when you're hysterical." That is a beautiful boundary. And she says, "That means you are not yelling." So then she goes into describing what this boundary looks like. "That means you are not yelling or invading my personal space."
Not invading her personal space. The mother is worried about the daughter invading her personal space, but what about the mother who is currently invading her privacy, which is her personal space? What about that? Are you going to talk about that, Ruby?
And then she asks her question, "Why was this hiding from me?"
Honestly, Ruby, I don't think this mother has anything to worry about with the fact that her daughter was hiding a journal. As long as there's nothing in there that's like life-threatening or anything like that, it's perfectly normal. In fact, it's very normal for a teenager to keep a journal and to keep that journal hidden from everybody, including their parents. I'm not quite sure which part of this you don't get.
So this mom goes into a lot of curiosity. She's asking lots of questions. Notice how the mom doesn't go into blaming. Notice how this mom doesn't go into pointing fingers and accusing. She doesn't go into storytelling. And you'll see later in this question, the daughter's given reason for the mom to go into blaming or storytelling, and yet the mom doesn't. Now, even if your child has never given reason for you to pause, this is still a truthful show up. You still hold the child accountable for this off, controlling response. This mother says, "As you can imagine, I felt confused in the moment, and I feel the same way now. I have not read the journal. My daughter has been consistently hunting for control in this situation over the last few hours. Everything from verbally manipulating, saying things like, 'You're invading my space,' or 'Those are my personal feelings,' to crying, she's pretending to vomit, and I even caught her snooping around and sending her siblings snooping."
Give her the bloody journal back. Am I missing something here? Why aren't you giving the journal back? I hope you haven't read it. Why are you keeping it as a weapon over her? Because it's her journal. You're not going to read it. Give it back to her because she's obviously very, very worried about it. And you're not making the situation any better by keeping hold of it, because she thinks that you're going to read it. Obviously, that is the key. She doesn't want it to be read, and for whatever reason. So just give it back to her. I mean, I don't really understand why you would. I get why you would want to keep some control over your child in order for them so their behavior doesn't escalate in certain situations, but this situation is not that.
So one thing she didn't say in this, but that I've heard many times is, I have a right to privacy. You're invading my privacy. That's another one. Very similar to you're invading my space. Those are my personal feelings. So the mom goes on. She says, my plan is to read her journal, evaluate its contents, and go from there.
Listen to me, loud and clear. At no point do you read your daughter's journal. No point at all. Nothing. If you read your daughter's journal, even if you open it up, the only thing this will do is you will alienate your daughter. You will lose her trust forever. That is a very important thing between a mother and a daughter. And it will take a long time to regain that trust. A long time. And the only thing that it will enhance is her being more deceptive in the future about things, trying to hide things a bit more, a bit better, even to the extent of not writing her true feelings within her journal. These are things that are likely to happen if you open it and read it. What is the necessity to read her journal? What you should be doing is the following. You should be handing it back to her and sitting her down and asking her if there is anything on her mind that she would like to share, or if she has anything that's worrying her. She can always talk to you. But at no point should you ever be opening that journal.
I'm struggling with feelings of guilt. Okay, right there. That is the first indicator mom is going into distortion. She's going into guilt. And here's two reasons why this is distorted. One is guilt is a principle of truth. Guilt is what invokes and is a catalyst for repentance. Guilt is what brings us to change. Now, repentance and change is going from a state of being in distortion to going into truth. The mom's in truth. The mom has not gone into distortion. The mom has not broken principles. The daughter has. It's the daughter who needs to change. It's the daughter who needs to repent.
I think we might need to agree to disagree on this one, Ruby. As of at the moment, the daughter has done nothing wrong. By saying that she wanting privacy is doing something wrong, now that is wrong. I'm all for the kids. Children shouldn't hold things over their parents in order to get what they want. Some do, some, but in this situation, every person on the planet deserves some level of privacy.
You're the mother and she is the child. This is not a relationship where you trust her. That's not your job as a mother. In fact, your job as a mother is to constantly be scrutinizing her, to constantly be judging her choices against principles. That's your job. If you begin to trust your daughter, you're going to go blind to all of the distortions.
So what you're saying is to never trust your children, ever? Even if they've shown that they are trustworthy and they can be trusted, you should never trust them? Of course, it's each to their own the way that individuals parent, but I would have thought that giving them a bit of trust would go a long way in your relationship between yourself and your children.
You're building a place in your home that is nurturing, that is predictable, that is safe, that your daughter knows how you're going to show up consistently over and over and over again.
Well, Ruby, I can imagine that your own kids do know how that you are going to react and show up over and over and over again because you do it all the time. You pull the same shit all the time. So, well done for being consistent.
Privacy has been used today greatly to hide and to sneak and to be deceptive. Privacy can be used in truth. I have 4 walls in my bedroom, and that gives me a place of privacy. I have 4 walls in the bathroom. That gives privacy. When my child begins using those 4 walls to do things that are deceptive, they lose the privilege of privacy. Why? Because they're not concerned about privacy. That is the last thing they're concerned about. They're just trying to hold that word over your head.
So that's why you took your son's door away from him, so that he doesn't have the right to privacy and that he doesn't have those 4 walls of protection. Is that what he was doing, holding privacy over your head?
They're trying to hold you hostage, saying, you need to give me privacy. You need to honor my boundaries. You need to honor my feelings. You don't care about me. What else? You're invading my space. Those are my personal feelings. No. In this home, you don't get personal space because this is my space because I'm the parent. If you want your own personal space, you'll need to get your own space. This is mine. And as long as you're living in my home, it is my job to know everything about you. You don't get to sneak, you don't get to hide, you don't get to have secrets. Not in my house. Do you see how loving that is?
Do I see how loving that is? Ruby, no, absolutely not. I'm sure you're going to tell me why after this, but oh my word. Oh my word. So you're coming across as a little bit of a control freak. It's my house, my rules, my property. I pay the mortgage. You're just a nothing. You belong to me. That's what you're saying. And those children are your property, basically. I cannot believe you're saying this. I really, really can't. It's really horrible to have that attitude over your family and your kids who you're supposed to love, that they mean so little to you that you want to control them in that aspect and every aspect of their life. It's really, really not nice. I'm sorry, Ruby, no.
Now, if you're in distortion, you're reeling right now. If you're in distortion, you're ready to pull your hair out right now. You're ready to scream. So think about how that feels in your system as you hear me say it. If a child is in truth, they won't have any problem with that. Okay, got it. That makes sense. They're not going to have any qualms about what I've just said because they're not hiding anything.
Again, Ruby, I think you're, to use your term, distorting the truth a little bit, in that you are mistaking hiding and just privacy. The two are not the same, one and the same thing. You can want privacy but also not be hiding anything.
Because privacy really is appreciated, and they can be in their room, and they can have 4 walls on a bathroom, and they can have a journal. And those who are being deceptive, there's no hiding place. So it's just a great rule of thumb that in my house, there is no such thing as privacy.
The second thing you said today that I've agreed with you, in your house, there is no such thing as privacy. None whatsoever. We've seen that through 8-10 years of vlogs. You have no privacy. Your kids have no privacy. You sell their privacy. You know, what more can we say? You're right. You're right, Ruby, you're right.
This mother says, side note, My daughter does not have a cell phone due to previous bad behavior in the past. To make a long story short, she was caught having extremely graphic and inappropriate conversations with a 19-year-old neighbor. It is as bad as you imagine. Oh. And she's 14. Last year she was 13. That is illegal.
Yes, it is illegal. Yes, it is illegal. So I hope that the daughter, the child, has not been made to feel guilty for this, has had some form of help, support, and not being looked at like she's doing something wrong. Because whilst what she was doing is obviously the cause for concern within the whole scope of the journal thing, it's not a reason still to take that journal off her, because what is she actually doing in the journal? She's writing her thoughts and feelings down. That's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. Why would you want to stop that? Why would you want her to second guess everything that she's writing from now on? Because writing in the journal is therapy. So why would you want to deny her that opportunity?
This occurred a year ago, and since then, we have been actively working to unlearn this trauma. All right, right here, the mom is wanting to combine with the daughter because she says, we are working to unlearn this trauma. Now, this is a really traumatic experience. This is a 13-year-old girl last year, a 14-year-old girl this year, who has been, if she says it's as bad as I can imagine, that there's been sexual, that's child pornography and exploitation. That is a really, really big deal. And the mom's responsibility in this is to get centered herself and not to go into distortion with this, but to stay firm and strong inside principles and to hold her daughter accountable, which it sounds like she's been doing a good job.
Hang on, no. Her job is not to hold her daughter accountable, because it's not her fault what happened. She is not accountable. She's the child. Or did you forget that, Ruby? In your distorted mind, did you forget that a 13-year-old is actually a child and not able to consent? Or did your little YouTube brain just forget about that for a moment? No, she doesn't have to be held accountable at all.
And she still is feeling this pull that she wants to trust her daughter. And the sad news is that your daughter isn't trustworthy. You cannot trust someone who is not trustworthy.
How do you know she's not trustworthy, Ruby? What has given you the impression that she is not trustworthy? The fact that she hid her diary, the fact that she wouldn't share her thoughts, the fact that she was sneaking about texting another boy who happens to be too old for her and is actually illegal. Whose fault is that? Are you are actually blaming the child. This is the problem. I cannot believe you're sat there on your high horse and blaming the child for what has been done to her. It's not her fault.
She says, any words of advice are much appreciated. Thank you dearly from the bottom of my heart for this wonderful space. Oh, you sweet mother. You sweet mother. I'm so glad to hear that you're getting into connections and that you're diving right in. I would love to have you get connected with our community and start talking to women who will be able to support you, and where you can go and do your venting or do your, express your emotions. Now here I'm going to share with you a truthful use of privacy. Mom, you need to be able to express your emotions and feelings in the privacy of a very safe group of women.
So the mum gets to express her own feelings amongst the safety and privacy of like-minded women, but the daughter doesn't get to express her feelings in the privacy of her own journal. Do you see how hypocritical that is? Right, so Ruby, I think we've established that you should not be talking to other people. Okay? You should not be given parental advice to other people. Unbelievable. Okay, so everybody, please, thank you so much for joining me today. I've loved having you part of this. And please remember to like the video, give it a massive thumbs up, comment everything you want to comment down below about this, and subscribe to the channel because it helps me out so much. Thank you ever so much. Have a lovely day. Come back again for another video very shortly. Thank you so much. Take care and bye bye. Thank you so much to all my channel members: Kelly XX, Supergirl Fan, Butterfly 0111X, Sam, Granny Cake, Layla 68, Hayley Billington, My One Hollywood, soon to be Mrs. B, Reborn 1988, Paul, Caroline Page, Vicky Mummer 4XX, Joanne C, Jude Lyons 1, Kirsty Reed, Tracy Jordan, Linda Spence and Cam K. Thank you all so much for all your support. It's so much appreciated.